Yes.
What is your reaction to the Image Expo?
I probably haven't spent enough time here to have enough of a reaction to it. It seems good to me. I had a huge line, but I've been at conventions where everybody else is complaining, and I had a huge line, so it always seems like a good convention to me. I'm in the catbird seat at conventions for the last several years, so it seems good. It's I wouldn't know what to expect at a convention thrown by one publisher, but it seems really good. It's a nice crowd, and busy but not so busy that you can't walk through the halls, which really starts to drive you crazy at some conventions.
Yes. And then, so this is Image 20 years later.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see Image 20 years from now?
Boy, well, they're so far from where they were 20 years ago if you look at what their output.
Yeah, no, it's
general.
Definitely...
Like, what I remember, I was working in independent comics when Image started. Like, I was writing and drawing my own black and white alternative comics, and we didn't see Image as being that much different than Marvel and DC at the time, other than their business model. Their business model was the thing that fascinated us, but we looked at it as like, I remember a friend of mine bringing home all the Image #1s from the comic store he worked at, and we flipped through them, and we were like, they're all splash pages. There's no scene transitions. Nobody's talking. Like, it just, but now they publish a lot of really great comics that are really, storytelling oriented, and they have been for a long time. Bendis, got his, big breaks at Image, and so, I don't know, I'd like to see them just continue on this path. It seems like right now they're on track to becoming a place where sort of big name established writers are bringing projects and hooking good artists up with them and really giving them support, and I'd like to see them sort of keep on that path of being the place where you can bring your great idea that you get to own if you're and that just seems like that's sort of what they're becoming right now, kind of, is Brian Vaughan doing his book here was sort of one of the reasons that I was like, okay, well, if Brian's going to try them out, then, I should be willing to give them a shot too, so.
Okay, so when I owned a comic book store, I described your books as noir, crime books.
Yeah.
Why do you think you're good at writing noir books?
I don't know. It's just my interest, basically, is sort of, the gray areas. Even, all my superhero kind of stuff is always, very seldom about the good guys versus the bad guys. It's always the areas in between. I don't know. I just have always loved, that stuff. My uncle wrote, like, some famous noir films, and I grew up watching noir movies and going to noir festivals and in my 20s reading a lot of Jim Thompson and Charles Willeford, and just always really liked that kind of thing. And I think I had kind of a fucked up childhood and in early 20s with a lot of crime and drugs and drinking and meeting a lot of really people who were even more fucked up than me, and so I just kind of always liked stories that took place in that kind of a world. And I like tragedy. If you look at, you could probably take a few Shakespeare plays and describe them as noir if you did them right. Hamlet would definitely be a noir. Noir is just tragedy in a lot of ways. It's just, when I can't remember who said it, Frank Miller or somebody was talking about, like, when you're halfway through a noir that generally it's going to end badly for, X, Y, and Z characters, but you don't read because you're like, oh, I know it's going to go badly. You read because you're like, well, how is it going to go badly? How badly is it going to go? So.
Well, you answered my second question about your influences, which is fine. And I know that a few of your films have been, like, optioned.
Yeah.
And I know that is a limbo that is, depends on.
We just had Incognito. I just got the email last night that was re-optioned by, like, Fox, like, executed their second option on it, which is nice. So the other option is that they don't.
Well, mine's more of like, if you could have your all-star pick of, like, a director, who would you go with that would fit, like, your writing style and what you've put out there?
Boy, all-star pick. I would love to have Scorsese, do like a criminal movie. I'm really happy with David Slade is going to direct the Coward movie, and I've got his first movie, Hard Candy, and he directed this great episode of Breaking Bad last season, and I've talked to him a lot about the movie, and his vision for how he wants to tell it, I think is really perfect. It's hard to say just because I've been working in that world for a little while now, and you want your dream director sometimes, but if you want to be involved in the project, your dream director is not going to want you involved in the project. Like, I'd love to have David Fincher direct anything I wrote, but David Fincher's probably not going to hire me to write the screenplay.
Understandable. What character have you written that you wouldn't mind going back and like rewriting? Like you didn't get to say exactly what you wanted to say.
I don't know. I don't think I have any. I'm not sure. I'd like to do more with Hawkeye. Maybe I haven't really written Hawkeye though. I don't know. All the stuff that I've done myself, I've sort of done the character until I don't want to do them anymore. It's hard to say. I don't know. I still want to write Jughead really bad. I've never gotten to write Jughead. I can sort of kill him in The Last Criminal.
That was like my next question. It's like, what character do you want to write in the future? But Jughead is fine. I'm a huge Iron Fist fan, and it's.
I would love to do more with Iron Fist. Actually, that was something that was a book I wanted from the moment I got to Marvel, and ended up. By the time it was they were ready to let me do it, I was so busy that we brought Matt on as a co-writer, and then Matt really took over the book, after the first 6 issues, and I was sort of his co-writer and co-plotter, but I feel like I didn't get quite as much Iron Fist in as I'd like to. Hold on 1 second.
No problem. And speaking of Iron Fist, like, how is it when you like create a character and make him like a grittier character, and then they revert back to like being old, not gritty? Like, have you seen the white costume? Or
Oh yeah, I'm not crazy about the white costume, honestly. Like, it's fine. I see why they did it. I just liked Iron Fist had the goofiest costume for so long, and then when me and Matt and David Aja were launching Iron Fist, we came up with all these redesigns till we got to the one that everybody liked, and then that's basically still what he's wearing, but it's white now instead of green and yellow. And
I mean, it's kind of just more of a realistic, dumbed-down version without the big 70s color.
But the whole thing, we got rid of the open chest by putting the thing on his chest like as an icon, and then got rid of the ballet slippers, because the whole point of the ballet slippers was that like Gil Kane drew those thinking that he was drawing karate shoes, but he just didn't remember what karate shoes looked like, so he drew ballet slippers. Like, they were never intended to be ballet slippers, and they were just left like that because people liked the design, and it's like, no superhero can be taken seriously in ballet slippers,
And then my final question is it's kind of a roundabout question about Gotham City Central. With the Spider-Man movie coming out, and there's going to be like tie-in comic books they usually do, would you be interested in doing like a Captain Stacy book, since Denis Leary is now doing his Captain Stacy?
I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, totally. I mean, I've joked with Greg and Michael before about trying to do like a Gotham Central-esque kind of thing at Marvel, and Greg rightly pointed out that we'd only be seen as ripping ourselves off, and it would be constantly compared to the thing that was like our passion project at DC, and so that we end up talking around in circles about trying to figure out what other kind of book that we could bring that kind of flavor to. We've talked about maybe like a Shield comic or some kind of thing, that would sort of look at those different the different corners of the Marvel universe from a different perspective. And that was what was cool about Gotham Central, was it was Gotham City from the perspective of the cops, and it wasn't an original idea. I mean, we were just riffing on Homicide, and Powers had already done it for create our own stuff. So it was like we'd pitched the idea and nobody wanted to do it, and then Powers came out and we were like, well, look, this is successful. Why don't we see, it can work, and and that totally helped us get Gotham Central greenlit. But yeah, I don't know. Captain Stacy comic could be cool. Are they gonna? They must have something in the works already. They always
They haven't
unleash a
they haven't
torrent of
announced
stuff around
anything,
the
but I mean,
movies.
I guess it could
What
be
is it,
all.
July?
Yeah, I mean, it could be all depends
July solicits, yeah.
on
I
Dennis
don't know,
Leary's
though. Around
performance.
those last movies, they had stuff coming out before them for months.
They usually had like a lead up
Yeah.
book.
So they can get all the trade paperbacks out when the movie's out or the DVD's out or something. That was where Captain America and Bucky started originally. Was going to be a miniseries that would be collected around the time of the Cap movie, and then it ended up becoming something else. But yeah.
And I mean, if you have time, how's Cap going, and where do you see it going?
Going really good. I guess they already announced Patrick Zerker's drawing the third arc, which is my sort of nod to Mark Grunwald to some degree. I've been on Cap so long. He's now the only guy who's written more Captain America issues than me. So I was like, there's things about his run that I really love, and I thought, I've done little nods here and there to Englehart and Roger Stern and Kirby, of course. Obviously, I just doing my Mad Bomb story right now. So I was like, I can't ignore Grunwald. Like I've got to at least do something that sort of does a nod back to some of the stuff that people really loved about the Grunwald run. But yeah, no, it's going really good, and Winter Soldier, launched really well, and people seem to really love that as like a really different kind of Marvel comic. So I have high hopes for that being like around for a while.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you for your time.
Sure.